What's happening, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Talk Nerdy with me, the nerdy show about all things video games. I'm your host, Nicholas Merrington, and this week I'm joined by James Creel. How you doing, James?
I'm pretty good. Just had a long day of working, so that was fun.
Well, at least you're done for the day.
Nope.
Halfway through the week, only 2 more days, and then you can have some weekend.
And it's a long weekend. Monday's a public holiday.
I actually forgot that it's a long weekend. I realized I don't have class on Monday. Not that that really impacts me. I don't have much class on a Monday, but it was nice to hear.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely happy. Especially since it's actually just the observed day. The actual holiday is on Sunday.
Oh, so you off work Monday?
Yeah, no, I am. But It's nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And we're looking forward to talking about, you guessed it, video games. As I said before, this is Talk Nerdy with me, the podcast that revolves around video games. Join us as we chat, discuss, and argue about all the things we love about video games. And if you want to send in a question or answer a question yourself, you can reach us at the email talknerdywithme21@gmail.com. This week, we're going to be covering 3 main topics. We're going to be talking about a little bit of the next-gen conversation that is currently happening out in the world. We're going to be talking about what we've been playing, and we're going to be asking James a few questions about his background in video games that I answered on last week's podcast, and very interested to see what he has to say. But before we get to any of that, we're just going to start with a little icebreaker, and I asked James the question which he's had time to think about now of if he had to live in a video game open world as an NPC, to be specific, what game would you choose? And what's your answer, James?
Well, it was tough because almost every NPC in every world has an absolutely horrible life.
Yeah, I didn't realize this until you pointed it out, actually. I didn't think about the answer. I was like, I'll think of one on the spot. And then you messaged me to be like, but every single world sucks to be in.
Every world is at war. I mean, everyone's okay for like maybe the first 75% of the game. Then the climax happens and the city gets decimated. So you're almost always going to end up having a horrible time as an NPC. So the only 2 I could think of that I wouldn't mind living in would be either The Sims, because then the worst my life can be is what it is right now, a dead-end job until I die. And I lie. They could trap me in a pool.
Exactly, and they could put you in a room with no doors, and then you cook and start fire.
Considering with all religions, it could happen anyway if one of the gods was a benevolent, not benevolent, a kind of malevolent and horrid deity, as players of The Sims can be. My other option was Persona 5's Tokyo, because at worst what could happen is they go into the metaverse, I'm an asshole, and they make me a better person.
It's not a bad answer.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, I don't think any civilians really died in Persona 5.
Oh, yeah. I think only your hearts will change.
Yeah, but there is some, you haven't played the end, but there is some bigger stuff that happens to like the city towards the end. But as far as I know, everyone survives it. So it's still a thing, but I'm like, yeah, that kind of works. I don't end up dead. Worst that happens is I'm a normal Japanese person going about my day-to-day life.
That's actually true. I didn't think about that game, especially since Persona 5 is a game that kind of the conflict doesn't happen in the real world, while it's like the start of the conflict kind of does. You know, it's the people in the real world who have these bad hearts that then create their palaces that you go into, but like the ordinary citizens don't know. I mean, they hear about the Phantom Thieves, but they don't actually see what's happening except for when the big changes happen. So I didn't think about that.
No one sees the fights. You just see the end result in the real world, which is not bad. And I mean, you do also not think about the NPCs there a lot, because when you actually see them in the world, you just sprint through them because of the whole stylized nature of that game.
They don't even all have like faces. Some of them just have hair and like no eyes or mouth.
They're just cutouts.
Yeah.
So at worst, I'll be a bland person, but at least I'll live.
Nice. Well, I thought I was thinking for quite a while, and I couldn't quite decide on something I was happy with. I was thinking of cheating and kind of going like a racing game, but in racing games, those cars could still hit you at any moment.
Go with Zoo Tycoon. You get to have fun for all of your life, but it could end if they decide to make the roller coaster go to nowhere. Not Zoo Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Roller Coaster Tycoon. But I went to Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag because I was like, look, if I'm going to have to live in a world, I want to live in a world I like. And the Caribbean is nice because it's like beachy. And I know there's pirates, but I thought there's so many islands. I can surely find one that have like a small chance of them finding me. And then hopefully I can just camp out there and live my life on this nice luxury tropical island, you know?
You say luxury. By luxury, you mean empty.
That's fine.
And you have to farm
just
or
me and
hunt
the beach.
or do everything yourself.
No, but it's fine. I'll take it. As long as they can't find me. I'll be on one of those islands that have like something that... I mean, every island probably has a collectible, but hopefully it's an island with a collectible that no one cares about unless they're a completionist, because then they won't ever come.
Yeah, and I came to every island in that game.
Ah.
Bloody hell, that took me a long time. No, but... My biggest thing of any game in Assassin's Creed is as soon as you go into the past, there are lots of cured diseases that are not cured anymore. And that's always my biggest thing of any game set in the past. I'm like, I don't want to die of cholera.
But if I'm on an island on my own, I mean...
If there's no fruit, you're dying of scurvy.
Well, then I'll pick an island that has like trees with fruit on it, you know? I'll think it through before I pick my island. Because I'm in the whole world, remember? I can move around. Maybe I'll join. I'll jump on the jackdaw and I'll just become a part of the crew.
Have you ever seen one of them jump off the boat when Edward jumped?
No.
I think they're stuck.
Nice. But yeah, so that was just what we would choose if we had to live in an open world game as an NPC. I'd love to know your guys' answers. So if you want to send in your answer, you can send it to the email talknerdywithme21@gmail.com. So we're going to get into our first topic of the show, and we're going to be talking about the next generation of consoles for a little bit, specifically the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And I've just prepared a few questions just to ask James and maybe some points to discuss. And first of all, James, what are you going with, the Xbox Series X or the PS5?
I mean, at this point, it's the same answer that I think a lot of people have given, just the PS5, simply because already both you and I are in the ecosystem with PS4. And I've already got the PS Plus subscription going, may as well keep it. And I've got so many games in that backlog. And then there is also just the simple fact that Xbox Series X it's creating a platform. It's not creating a next-gen experience at the moment. That's Microsoft's goal. There's nothing to say it's wrong. It just, for me, means it's more motivation to get a PS5 because you'll get specific exclusives. While for the moment, you can just get your Xbox One and keep playing on it for the next 2 years and wait for a significant sale on the Series X, or get a new PC if you want, and then just get Game Pass on that. Because it takes, 2 to 3 years, they said, until games will be exclusive.
Yeah,
I
think 2 years.
By that point, you get a good sale, you'll be sorted with the Series X.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go PS4, PS5 than Series X later.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm also PS5. I think the thing that brings me to PS5 the most, though, is the first party lineup. I think it's compare that to Xbox. Yeah, Xbox has Halo, but I've never been huge into Halo. The Xbox exclusive that's always interested me a lot was Sunset Overdrive because it was made by Insomniac. But I mean that I've been able to get on my laptop, so you know there is a way for me to play the Xbox exclusives if I really wanted to. But I think the PS5 exclusives are just they on their own level, and I know that Xbox has Game Pass, but I feel like for how I Game Pass isn't something that I need right now. But I agree with you. I think that in 2 years' time, when the Series X starts getting games exclusively to the Series X, the price of a Series X will have definitely dropped at least a little bit. And make it so much more worth it picking up a PS5 first and a Series X 2 years down the line.
Yeah, it works. I mean, also the exclusives that interested me the most, being mainly Avowed, is only likely going to be 2 or 3 years down the line, considering what Obsidian's still got to work on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm fine waiting. And I mean, the Halo also, Halo's enjoyable, but I never got into the multiplayer, so it never had a very big pull to me, really.
But yeah, and then talking about Game Pass, I just wanted to ask you, what do you think Sony's response is going to be to how Xbox or Microsoft have leaned so heavily into Game Pass for the next generation?
Well, we've looked at like a lot of people. We've seen. a lot of the ways that Sony's done PS Now right now. So they've got it, and it works very similarly to Game Pass already, just that only certain titles are downloadable, some are streamable only, some you can do both. If you wanted to actually, and also it's only available in 17 countries, which is really sad. Like, I wouldn't mind PS Now, because as a service, it's just same as Game Pass. When it rotates out titles, it gives me a chance or a window to play things that I didn't want to just buy, or things that are old and that I just never played. So like, I know Game Pass got like all the Ratchet and Clanks, and I never had a PS2, so I never played them. So I wouldn't mind having PS Now just for that. But I think it's a lot that Microsoft did Game Pass and they marketed it so well because they were playing catch up. Microsoft didn't have an exclusive lineup to sell. So what they sold was this ability to get every game, and they marketed it properly. Sony did it kind of as a half-assed streaming thing, to say, look, we're the first people doing like kind of game streaming, when they bought Gaikai and made it into PS Now. Then they've brought the downloads and stuff, but still they've never really marketed it that much. And I feel like, looking at what Series X is doing and how big Game Pass is becoming, I feel like they really need to push it and start marketing it properly and roll it out to more countries. But
yeah,
I mean, as long as they've still got their exclusive train, they don't really, I guess they don't see a need for it, so to speak. Like, they don't need to draw people to their consoles with it the same way Microsoft is.
Yeah.
But then Microsoft also has PC be a large part of who Microsoft as a whole company is. So having that service makes a lot more sense to them as well. But with Sony bringing things to PC, I mean, could argue both ways for that.
Yeah. I think also, if you look at this last generation, like Xbox lost compared to PlayStation or Sony. So they've had to pivot. They've had to go for something new, because they're not going to beat Sony on an install base with the first party lineup that Sony has compared to what Microsoft has. Like, obviously they've acquired so many studios now, but that's only going to go so far. And I think that Phil Spencer somewhere along the way was like, okay, instead of carrying on fighting Sony at the same game, we're just going to start our own game. And that's why I feel like these next two consoles are splitting so much more than they've ever before, with Sony's carrying on with the selling new games, like here in South Africa, 1,000 Rand a game, $60 in America. And that's going to be
generations. They're continuing with the generational idea.
Exactly.
While Microsoft wants a platform.
Well, Microsoft are going with Game Pass because for them a subscription service was what they think the future of gaming is, which it probably will all be eventually. But at the moment, Sony's, the way Sony's doing it isn't broken. And I don't think it'll be broken for a while. So I think that like Sony will probably knuckle down a little bit with PS Now. I think they'll market it a little better, and especially how vague it is with like which games you download and which games you stream. I think that's a bit iffy at the moment. But I mean,
the website doesn't make that clear.
Yeah.
I think once you've got the service, you'd know, but the website does not tell you.
Yeah, but at least with PS Now has been out for long. It's been out longer than Game Pass, if I'm correct.
Yeah. No, but that was streaming only.
Yeah, and if you think about how it has streaming as well as being able to download a game, it's actually a little bit of like the fact that Microsoft have started an xCloud now, and you've got Google Stadia, which are these two streaming gaming platforms that Sony kind of have that already working, maybe not on such a high level, but they have the basics down within PS Now. They also have the basics of what Game Pass is in PS Now. So I feel like they don't even have to change it that much. They just have to basically explain it to us again, dumb it down and make it very simple, and maybe do like a re-release almost, like maybe rebrand it a little bit. And I feel like then they basically caught up with Microsoft if they decide they want to put their first party lineup out on PS5, day one, which I doubt they'll do for a long time.
On PS Now, you mean?
On PS Now, yeah. So.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest advantage. Game Pass also has some nice deals where if you play a game on Game Pass and then decide to buy it, there is actually discounts based on that.
Oh, that's really cool.
Which is really nice. Yeah, it also counts towards discounts on DLC, but that's a bit less. But the fact they actually let you basically demo it on Game Pass, and if you liked it so much that you decide to buy it, you do get it a bit cheaper. So, I mean, they've got some really good deals worked out in that whole system.
Yeah. Well, it'll be very interesting to see what what happens with this next generation of consoles. Obviously, we both said we're going with the PlayStation 5. We'll see what happens with the announcements of when they are going to launch it, the price, which we're very interested in, which I am very interested in because I need to start saving up for one. Hopefully, I'll be able to get one at launch, but otherwise, within the launch window, hopefully.
Thank goodness for a job.
Oh, lucky.
Saving money has never been as easy as this.
But before we move on to the next topic, just with regards to the next generation, what launch exclusive or platform exclusive are you most excited for on the PlayStation 5? Or it doesn't even have to be a platform exclusive. Let's rather just say next gen exclusive.
Okay. I mean, the easy ones that we know of, and we know what they're probably going to play like. So the easiest ones to say would be Spider-Man Miles Morales. There's Horizon Forbidden West. Those, like, we know exactly how those games are going to play. The only thing we need to wait to see is more or less what the story's going to be and what those worlds are going to be like. I mean, I assume Miles Morales is going to be New York, but it might just be a different season. So we could see maybe New York
winter.
if it's in winter, I was about to say we could see New York with snow. So it's going to be just different, I think, aesthetically, but I think a lot of the gameplay is going to be refined and it's going to be like, we're going to know what to expect. So those, while they do excite me, I think what I'm most anticipating is actually, I want to know more about Project Aether, the game that's coming from the Final Fantasy 15 team from Square Enix that we saw at the PS5 reveal event, or the PS5 game showcase, whatever that thing was called, the State of Play. And Pragmata, that Capcom game that looks like it's made by Hideo Kojima.
Oh, is that the one that kind of...
The spaceman, the little girl that's like a robot, and he launches into the sky, and then he's on the moon. Yeah. I don't know what the hell that is, but if that game's only releasing in a couple years' time, and that is not just cinematics, that's an actual representation of what they're looking to hit in terms of how it would look, that game seems amazing. And conceptually, I'm just like, I've got so many questions. I just hope that when it's shown more, it lives up to it.
Yeah.
And the other one I think is Returnal, which is that it's like which
it's like Groundhog Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like the Groundhog Day / is it Major? No, it's not. Is it Majora's Mask? I haven't played the Zelda, so I can't remember which one's the one that has the time loop. It's also like what's the game? Didn't you want to play it? Outer Wild.
Yeah, I still want to.
The other space game that's time loop based.
Yeah,
I'm very interested to see because it looks like it's got a very dark kind of almost body horror story because of how it speaks of how as she comes back, the world is changing her to make her more like it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, all of those games seem to be doing something really different. And not necessarily really different, but they're just, at least they're fresh new IPs. And so I'm looking forward to see what they actually are.
Yeah. I totally agree with the Miles Morales one. Spider-Man PS4 is my favorite game of all time. So I'll definitely say I'm most excited for Miles Morales. I'm excited to see if they just put us back in Manhattan. I was just thinking now, it would be quite interesting to go across one of the bridges, like maybe take us to New Jersey or something. Maybe if they want to give us a slightly different map, but I feel like they're going to put us back in Manhattan again. But I'd still explore it again, especially if it was snowing. I think that'd be really cool. And then the other game that really interests me is Kenna Bridge of Spirits, I think it's called.
Yeah, I think it's Kenna or Kena. I don't know what's
I'm not sure of the
was.
pronunciation, but it really gave me Concrete Genie vibes, which I absolutely loved. And so, yeah.
It's also surely some Breath of the Wild vibes there.
Yeah, but not as big of a scale as Breath of the Wild, obviously. But yeah, just the cuteness of those little creatures, it got me. But the game looks cute and fun. And I know it's a little indie, but I'm very excited about that one. So I'd say those are my two that I'm most looking forward to for the next generation, I reckon.
No, it does. Kenna does look really good. I'm interested to see what the game's going to be like when it launches. So right now I don't actually know if that game's open world or if it's linear story based type of thing. I'm curious what type of game it actually is.
Cool. Well, we're going to jump into our next segment, and this is going to be what we've been playing. So we'll start off with you, James. What have you been playing?
Well, I mean, you already know. I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima. Sadly with work and stuff, still haven't finished the game. I'm on the second island, Toyotama, I believe it's the second part of the island, the Toyotama part of the island.
Act 2.
And I love the game. And I can't wait to see how the game ends and what the third region is going to hold. But yeah, it's a really good game.
Mm. I was exactly the same with, or I guess not exactly the same, but I went in that first part of the map and I saw the whole map. I 100% of that map before moving on to the second island or whatever you want to call it. And I didn't quite think that there was going to be any other kind of variation that they could have added, especially just in like different biomes. I thought it was going to be more mountainy, maybe a little flatter. But like you get to the second map and like it's more swampy. And then there's like, I'm sure you've seen there's like fields of red flowers in that. And that's made me very interested to see what this third section of the map could be. Because I'm assuming it's going to be different to the other two. But I can't even think of what else there could be. Like maybe it could be snow, but I have no ideas.
Yeah, I think it's also just nice because this, aside from like Sekiro and Neo, which are much more, they're Dark Souls genre. They're the Soulsborne genre games, so they're mainstream, but they're still niche enough that you don't have like as wide a player base that would usually play them. I know this is an exclusive, so kind of also hard to say that this is as wide a player base, but you don't have many games with Japanese architecture and Japanese settings, which is, I think, what makes this okay. With historical Japanese settings, you do have like JRPGs and stuff set in modern day. But so seeing all of this stuff is just really cool because it's so different to anything we've seen. And like so many people have been saying about it, it is Assassin's Creed, or at least it's what Assassin's Creed used to be.
It's my favorite.
And it's
Assassin's
in Japan.
Creed, yeah.
It's in Japan, which is what fans have wanted for years. So I mean, there's so much about it that's just great. It's even doing stealth better than Assassin's Creed is doing stealth at the moment.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm also playing Ghost of Tsushima. I'm also Act 2. But actually, bringing up stealth, I want to ask you, like, how do you think the game is handling the mix between Jin obviously being a samurai, but then also kind of being forced to be the ghost? Like, how do you think they've done with conveying the choice being yours of how you want to play?
So I actually found it really interesting when I was playing it. So I ended up going through, and the standoff mechanic is it's very simple, very basic, but it's very fun. Same with the combat. It's not like the combat's revolutionary in terms of a system, but it's extremely well done, extremely fun to do. So when I started the game, it was that vibe of I didn't want to do stealth. Like any enemy encounter I would find, I went up to them and I was like, standoff immediately, went and did that. But then as you get further into the game, where I think it's right near the very end of Act 1, after you've retaken Castle Canada.
Yeah.
They have the Khan sends back his men for revenge and takes people hostage at the farms. And that starts another quest and stuff. But anyway, you go and you take over, have to go get these farms. And while you're going there, if you get spotted, they start to kill hostages. And that's an instant fail state for these missions. So in a way, they kind of start forcing you into stealth.
Yeah.
But I found that weirdly, as it got to that point where it was like, they're forcing you into stealth, was where the stealth, as generic as it is, it's obviously the stealth is nothing special. It's things you've seen hundreds of times. Throw an object, make a noise, lure one guard. Throw an object, make a noise that lures many guards. Bow and arrows, stealth attack, very much things we've seen so many times. But by the time I actually felt forced to use it, I was getting to the point where I was like, yeah, I see why I need to use it now, even though I maybe don't want to. And I felt that was really interesting. That I don't know if that was intentional on their part or not, but it felt like it mirrored Jin's journey, essentially, where he's a samurai who wants to fight honorably and doesn't want to use stealth, but then he gets forced into situations where he's like, well, I don't really have another choice anymore. It's either I do this, which makes me feel dishonorable or ashamed, or I let people die. And now it's gotten to the point where my combat style uses both. So if I'm sprinting through an enemy camp and they haven't seen me yet and I get close enough to chain assassinate, because sometimes I go after the little bonus objectives, so you get extra legend increase. I'll go through and do those, and then I'll just come out of hiding to fight everyone. But if I get close enough to do some, because they won't give you a standoff anymore, to do a chain assassination, I'll sprint at people, chain assassinate 3 of them, and then fight the rest. Like, it becomes this great almost like mixture of like him becoming what the ghost is, which is part samurai, part, I hesitate to say ninja because it's technically not really, but you know what I mean, like half type of vibe. Yeah, I think thematically, I don't know how, if it was intentional, but it works so well to me when I just stand back and look at how I ended up playing stealthily.
Yeah, and they introduced that cutscene early on when I think you do one of your first stealth kills to Jin when he was younger, being trained by Sensei
Lord Shimura.
Lord Shimura,
his uncle.
Yeah, by his uncle, and his uncle says you should always look your opponent in the eyes. You should always fight honorably. You know, you never stab them in the back. And then that happens again about in Act 2, that mission where you get a new ability. I won't say what it is just for people who haven't played it, but you know what I'm talking about, in the mission where you go back to Jin's home and you get something else to use. And the first time you use it, or you're forced to use it, it then goes back again to Lord Shimura, who says to you, like, you know, he says something along the lines of, we shouldn't use that, we should fight honorably. And Jin kind of justifies it back in the real time, saying, like, it's just to save the island from the Mongols. Then I'll never use it again. I just need to do it now to save my people. And you can just sense that desperation that Sucker Punch have done so well to, like, convey across to us, like, seeing that Jin doesn't want to be dishonorable. He wants to stay a samurai and, you know, fight the way that he's been taught to. But, you know, it's a decision between your beliefs and your people, and it's a very tough decision. And I love how they convey that across.
I feel like it's been done really well.
Yeah,
like and that duality has been really well done in the story.
Yeah, and I agree that the game is so polished and so tight. The gameplay is so tight when I say that, but like the combat it kind of reminds you of like almost like a Rocksteady Batman kind of combat, like how responsive it is. It's different with it being swords rather than just hand to hand. But I love the different stances as well. Being able to, like, switching between them on the fly depending on the weapon type of the enemy. It's very interactive, and it doesn't feel like I'm just mashing one button the whole time. Even though there's only two attack buttons, with being triangle and square. With triangles your heavy attack and squares your light attack. There's like different combinations of triangle within each stance, which adds a little more depth to it, which I think they've just absolutely nailed. So I'm really enjoying that.
No, it's definitely a contender, I think, for like a game of the year to me at the moment.
It's definitely what I felt like. Have you been playing anything else?
For the last few months, I've been playing South Park: The Fractured But Whole on my Switch. Because I just sat on that game for a while and I finally started playing it, and I've still got to finish it. So as soon as I'm done with Ghost of Tsushima, I want to go and finish that at long last, just so I can see the end. And otherwise, I haven't got anything else I'm actively playing yet.
Well, my other game that I'm playing, which I've spoken to you about a lot, is Animal Crossing New Horizons on my Switch, which I've been playing since launch back in March, and I think it's the perfect game to have during lockdown if you're stuck inside. There's lots to do. I've rolled the credits, I guess you could say. You kind of get the credits like 30 hours in or so, once you've like basically done enough of the activities and objectives around the island. So now I'm just checking on it daily because there's like, I don't know if you know about the turnips in the game.
No, I'm just guessing that Tom Nook gave you another loan that he forced you to take.
So I just paid off another loan.
Against your will.
Yeah, so I just paid off another loan now, but so I'm in debt again because he upgraded my house for me. But which you don't have a choice to. You walk into the town hall, and if you've paid off your loan already, your house, that you come back into town hall, and Tom Nook will be like, "Oh, cool, I'm ready to upgrade your house again if you are." And he has another loan. Now I owe him like 900,000 bells.
What you mean is he looked at you, said, "It smells like poor people in here," and then he forced a loan on you.
Exactly.
But everyone has to be up to his standard of rich.
But yeah, like I was saying, so each day I just go into the game. I'm currently just farming flowers. I go into Nook's Cranny, which is just like the shop where they sell you items, furniture, and stuff.
That sounds so dirty.
And
that sounds like it could go such a dirty way, that name.
Oh, I mean, it's a pretty filthy shop. They don't clean it very well.
It is run by raccoons, isn't it?
It's run by his two nephews, Timmy and Tommy.
Child labor laws need to be enacted.
I think they're well paid though. But
I
anyway,
only know the memes of that game. I know that that Tom Nook is a criminal. He has child labor infringements with his nephews working in his shops, and also all of the loving crossover memes of Doom Guy and what's the dog? Isabel.
Isabel, yeah.
Yeah, all the loving memes of Doom Guy and Isabel being best friends. That's all I know of that game.
But yeah, as I was saying about the turnips, so the game has like a stock, basically stock prices, whatever you want to call it. Basically, turnips have a value that fluctuates, and so every Sunday, this little pig comes to the island to sell you turnips, and they'll say be 100 bells per 10 turnips. So you buy all your turnips, then you go into Nook's Cranny every day of the week, and it changes over lunchtime so that there's 2 different prices per day, and you can be like, what's the turnip price today? And they'll usually be like, oh, it's 90 something today, and the next day it's 80, and then it sparks up to 120, and it can even hit up to like 500 bells. But yeah, so basically my day revolves around like just grabbing my Switch while I'm taking a break from work or something, quickly going in, just checking those turnip prices, and then always checking on the villages I hate, to see if they got like the little speech bubble above their head, because then hopefully they're going to ask to leave the island, because I've got probably like 8 villages and I only like 3 of them. So I'm really just hoping...
That's such a dick move.
You can't get rid of them. You can go to report them for things, and you can go hit them with a net over the back of the head, but there's actually no way to get a villager to leave your island other than to ignore them.
That just sounds like... That honestly sounds like you're the worst leader of the island ever, because I mean, like in a democracy, everyone should matter, and then you're just here like, I will ignore you until you finally request to leave.
Nah, but there's some awful people. I got this one bird named Peck, and he's like, I've got 3 birds on my island. Like, they got the same character model shape, but different colors. But for some reason, this one doesn't have pupils, so he's just got these big white eyes, and he looks like a ghost. It's flippin' creepy. But
I think you should keep him just so you could display him in a museum eventually. You just like have this exhibit and charge people money.
But it also doesn't make sense because the game has birds in it. Like, there's a little sign that these 2 little birds are sitting on, and when you walk to it, they fly away. I'm like, what makes that bird different from the bird living on my island in a house?
Yes. There's a TV show or something that has that same problem. I think it's, one TV show is Family Guy that has that problem. Why is Brian the only talking dog, and why does he have sex with humans?
Yeah. But yeah, so just still checking on Animal Crossing every day. Hopefully I can fully upgrade my house and do more. I remember what it was. Yeah?
It's the Disney World. Why is one of their best friends, Goofy, a dog, but Pluto is their pet?
Oh, I haven't thought about that.
Never made sense. There's 2 dogs in that world, and one of them's a pet, and the other one's one of their friends.
And the one dog is owned by a mouse. Birds.
Yeah. And probably often shouted at by a duck.
Nice.
Shame. Donald's seen some things.
So that's what we've been playing. But now we're going to get into the main topic of the show, which we're going to be asking James a couple of video game questions. I answered these questions last week, but I will be giving him my answers because he hasn't heard my answers to them.
Because I can't find the channel for the podcast.
Well, I haven't posted it yet. You'll see it. Don't worry about it. I'll figure it out.
How hard I search, I can't find it.
We'll be famous one day. Don't you worry. All right. So James, we just got a few questions here just to get to know you as a gamer. And first of all, I got to ask if you have an answer to this, which I actually don't know. I'm very curious. Do you have a favorite game of all time?
Yes. Well, it's a mix. I've got like 2.
Okay.
Essentially, it's The Witcher 3, all DLCs, expansions included, because literally that game was like an RPG on another level compared to everything else. My main experience with fantasy RPGs before that had been like Skyrim, and honestly, I kind of dislike Skyrim. I can't stand Bethesda. I still play a lot of it, but I can't retroactively stand Bethesda always getting away with buggy disasters, while other companies got absolutely torn to pieces for it. And retroactively, that makes me really dislike it. Also, I'm not a big fan actually of blank slate characters in RPGs. I kind of prefer to inhabit a pre-established character. I don't like it that much when it's blank slate. So immediately, like, it's a bit off-putting. But yeah, anyway, it's The Witcher 3 with all its DLCs because the storytelling was great, the music was great, the game looked amazing. And I loved Geralt as a character. And I just loved that story. I loved that world so much that I think I did. I hit every question mark in that game and every quest possible. So I think I probably spent upwards of 200 hours across that game. And the other one would definitely have to be Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royale. I haven't played Royale, haven't even bought it yet.
Oh, you cheated.
I already... That's because I know it's the same game, but with an additional term and some extra content. So as soon as I have it, it'll be like one big jumble of this being the same game-ish with all my hours across it. And I mean, by the time I get that game, the first time I played it, I didn't understand how to play the game, got all the way to the final boss. My characters were so badly spec'd out in terms of powers that I just couldn't beat it. Had to restart the entire game. So I played the game through twice. So that's about 100 hours each playthrough. So that's about 200 hours in that game. And by the time I get Royal, it's probably going to be even more. So I'll probably end up putting about 150 hours into Royal to finish it. And by that point, I'll probably have played over 350 hours of Persona 5. So as soon as I get Royal, that game is going to take up my life. So Royal is like just this reward purchase I'm waiting on to buy when I know that I'm like, okay, I've got the time. There's nothing new coming out. And I'm not going to ruin my social life by buying this now.
Nice. I said my answer earlier. You can guess, I'm sure. My favorite game of all time is Spider-Man on PS4.
Yeah.
Which was my very first platinum. And I just want to say, you haven't platinumed either of your favorite games of all time, so...
I'm sorry, if you ever saw the list for those games.
Why didn't you platinum Witcher? What did you not do?
There was some weird... So it glitched on me in terms of the Gwent collection one, and I did not want to redo the whole game to get all the Gwent cards. It glitched. Like, my second playthrough, I played through it twice. And my second playthrough, I did the best I could to get all of the Gwent cards, but it just glitched on me. And I was like, what the hell? And I just didn't get one card.
Yeah.
Although like I said, it was the Bloody Baron, I think. I played him beforehand, because it said, before you finish his quest, play him, or else you'll miss out on his card. Did it. Beat him. Just didn't get it. And I was like, okay. And I wouldn't do the thing, so... kind of gave up. And there's some weird combat ones in The Witcher that I just didn't feel like going after because it makes you play it a certain way that, like, I'm just like, that's not how my Geralt is.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be bothered. And Persona 5 is a collectathon of having to get every Persona and do so many things. It's ridiculous the amount of things you'd have to do for that platinum.
Okay, cool. All right, so the next question we got for you is, what's a game you didn't expect to enjoy, but you ended up liking or loving?
Well, we're going to hear it again. Persona 5. It was the first JRPG I played, so I actually waited for it to go on quite a big sale. Like, spent like 2 weeks watching reviews and debating whether or not I was going to buy it, because the sale, I think, was like one of those month-long sales over summer. Well, American summer, our winter. So December holidays. And yeah, I just eventually just bit the bullet, bought it, and I was like warned from reviews that the start is very slow, and so I knew that going in that it'll take me about 10-20 hours for the game to fully open up. And despite that, I still loved the intro. Even I just fell in love with that game, and now I've been literally buying up as many JRPGs as I can to play across my Switch and across the PlayStation. And I'm especially actually excited. Dragon Quest 11. It is 11, right? Dragon Quest 11 Echoes of an Elusive Age Dragon Quest 11 S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition, which has got instead of the synthetic audio that's in the original for the music, it's got the full orchestral version that they made for the Switch version, which is the first release of that S version, is coming to Xbox One and PlayStation in December. So I'm was going to buy that on Switch, but now I'm going to buy it on PlayStation because it's going to have the orchestral music soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that one.
Ironically, my answer was actually the same. Mine was also Persona. It was a game that you would not stop talking about for like, I don't know how long it was like a year or maybe 2 years. And you kept talking about this Persona game. And I was like, I don't play JRPGs. I'm not going to play it. And then I think it was this year, obviously, with the whole pandemic thing. No, was it? It was this year. It was the whole pandemic thing.
Yeah, it was this year.
And I was like, look, I got the time. Let me try. And instantly before I knew it, I was 25 hours in, and I was like, "Oh my word, I love this game!" And then I just finished, and I think I was in the second palace. I finished the second palace. I got to about 30 hours. Yeah, I just finished Madarames. It was about 30 hours in, and then the next like 3 hours was all that that weird like limbo stage in between palaces where you haven't even found your next target. And I fell off there because like I got a little bored of the whole waiting around. So I haven't played it since. But I'm about 30 hours in, and it is something I've still got on my home screen on my PlayStation, so I will definitely be going back.
Because your next character you get is also great.
Mm.
Your next character, I don't know if you care if I tell you the name of who you get.
I don't know. I don't know if is it a spoiler to anyone listening who was wanting to play the game.
I doubt it. It's literally a game from 2016 or 2017? Game's fairly old.
Sure.
You get Makoto, the student council girl.
Oh, okay, I could have guessed that.
Of fat principals making investigate you?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's your next person, but her persona, you'll love it. Her persona is great.
But is there anyone better than Morgana?
In terms of cuteness, no. I love Morgana.
No, in terms of telling you what you can and can't do.
Oh, Morgana's an asshole in that way. I can't wait. One of Royal's biggest things is that Morgana was literally redone to tell you to go to sleep less. Which is one of the things I can't wait for.
So the next question we got is, what game have you spent the most hours in? And I'm guessing that's what you just said. You spent 200 hours in.
It could be Witcher 3, it could be Persona 5, or it could be GTA 5. Simply because the game released twice. I played the story through twice. And then there's all the time, if you count that we did play GTA Online, even though most of that was reconnecting because the servers dropped or because our internet was absolutely terrible. Being on a 2 megabyte per second ADSL line was
remember those days.
Suffering.
Yeah.
Fiber has changed my life.
I think mine's also GTA 5. Like not necessarily like by like that's the game I'm glad I put all my hours into, but I think we played it so much and not even doing
because there's just like nothing else.
Yeah, and the amount of time we would even just be in like just join an open session, not do a race or anything. We just like get in each other's cars and like drive up and down the map. We do that for hours.
Do a mission. The worst part was every time we wanted to do a mission, we would just end up with a server disconnect. So it was always like the only thing we could do was drive up and down for hours.
Yeah. Right.
That game.
The next question is, do you remember what the first game you ever played was?
First game I can remember playing was, I don't even know what it was called. It was I think it was a very annoying racing game on my PSP. The first console I ever had was a PSP because my family used to travel quite a bit. So to stop me from being annoying on either planes or car rides, my parents decided, hey, let's buy him a PSP. And so that was the first console I had, and they ended up getting me a racing game. I think I got to like the 4th stage of it, could never get past it, so I never finished that game.
Was it just like a generic racing game with like normal cars in the normal world? Wasn't like futuristic or anything?
No, it wasn't futuristic. It was normal cars, and I think it was like it had different types of races, like rally races or Formula 1 races or stuff like that. It was like different types of cars that you raced. I don't remember what it was at all, but I just remember that I hated it because I could not beat the 4th level or so. I was just so over it.
Well, my answer is I was on the PS1. It's my very first game. But it wasn't our PS1. We never owned one. It was my cousin's, and it was 007, The World's Not Enough, the Pierce Brosnan movie, but in the video game of it.
That wasn't... The World's Not Enough isn't the one where he surfs a tidal wave, is it?
I don't think so. World's Not Enough is the one where he skis down a mountain that I think there's an avalanche or something. Definitely a ski scene. But I remember playing that game. I don't remember... We similar to you, we couldn't get past the 2nd level. We could do the tutorial because it taught you how, and then after that it was too hard.
Yeah. I feel ashamed of how bad I was at video games as a kid.
So these next 2 questions, we're just going to fire them off quickly. So first of all, what was the last game you completed?
Last of Us Part 2.
My last game I completed was Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I played after Last of Us Part 2 as a palate cleanser. And then what game are you currently playing?
We already answered this.
True.
It's Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima. And what game are you going to play next?
Well, like I said, I want to finish up Fractured But Whole. And then after that, I want to go on to the other JRPG I bought on my Switch, which is Ni no Kuni and the Wrath of the White Witch. Or I want to play Erica on PS4 because I've been found out that it was composed by Austin Wintry, who I keep watching on Alana's Play, Watch, Listen podcast.
Yeah.
So I want to play that game to hear the music because he was speaking about what like the interesting challenges of making that game's music was. So I'm very curious to play it and like actually purposefully try and listen. Or a friend has convinced me that Final Fantasy XIV, the MMORPG, or MMOJRPG, I don't know. Anyway, it's apparently getting an update that means you can play the trial all the way up to level 60 and all the way up to the end of the Shadowbringers content, which for an MMO up to level 60 is probably like a couple 100 hours of content.
Yeah.
So he's like, and it's crossplay. So him and another friend of mine are getting it on PC, and I'm going to get it and have to make a Square Enix account and all of that. But I mean, with Avengers coming, probably going to need a Square Enix account anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably going to put in some time into Final Fantasy 14 with them since free.
Yeah. Nice. I think my next game is going to be Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Been on this Tomb Raider train now, so I got to finish it. But
fair enough.
I'm kind of most excited about Marvel's Avengers now. Everything about it is really like making me excited to jump in, especially this announcement that Spider-Man will be on it on PS4, on the PlayStation, I'll just say. So that's what I'm very excited for. But obviously that's only in September, so I need something. I'm sure I'll finish Ghosts within like the next 2 weeks. So I think Shadow of the Tomb Raider will probably be my next game I jump into.
I think it's about a 40-hour game or so, if I remember right. But then again, I did try to get all the collectibles, so I think I was like 40 or 50 hours.
For Tomb Raider or for Ghost?
For Tomb Raider. I finished Ghost.
Okay, no, I thought you were saying you think Ghost 40.
No. I think Tomb Raider was. I can't remember, though.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. I'm just going to play the story probably, so it'll probably only take me about 20 hours.
Weirdly, there's more, compared to the other games, there's actual side quests in this one. So there's a lot more to do in it. But I weirdly didn't enjoy it as much. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like the graphics were a downgrade. Lara looked more textureless, just smooth in her face and skin. Everything looked just smooth and less detailed than Rise. And I don't know why, and it just really put me off, as though like the game went backwards.
It was a different developer though, or not entirely. It was handed over
it was
to
Eidos.
Eidos was the main developer, whereas the previous ones
where the others were Crystal.
Crystal, yeah.
Because Crystal was busy, I think, on Avengers by this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see how that turns out. But the next question is quite a big one. Obviously, Fortnite's one of the biggest games out in the world at the moment. And I just want to ask, what's your opinion on Fortnite?
Meh. I don't know. I've never liked online games too much, to the point that like I play them and I enjoy them, but I don't last long in them because I just get bored. Like I don't know, doing the same thing over and over without a story to drive me forward. I just lose interest in the gameplay loop.
Yeah.
So I can't say I enjoy Fortnite myself. Also, the community just seems really annoying. The community seems so annoying from every meme and everything that's been made about that game. Also, but I will say I do respect what it's done. Like, Fortnite has definitely done live service well, in the sense that it's, at the very least, compared to most other games that were doing their toxic stuff, it was the first one that was, or one of the first ones that was basically just free to play straight off. So, at least with its battle pass system, although it is meh, I can see the battle pass system being exploited, as it probably already is in Call of Duty and other games, because I put them as being even more greedy than Epic is. I can see it being exploited a lot, but at least it was on a free-to-play game. Like, they weren't making you buy it and then have all this monetization. And I am torn on them constantly having like these integration with Marvel and Star Wars, to the point that there was a trailer released in it, or like an announcement for the game. And like, I know it's probably all memes, but I feel sad to think that there might be people out there who say, hey, do you play Fortnite? And someone's like, why? Oh, you have a stormtrooper in your picture, and that's a Fortnite skin. And I just like, I feel sad to think that there might be people who think that Fortnite originated the stormtrooper. And like, I'm just very upset that that is an actual possibility now, just considering the age of kids playing Fortnite versus maybe when they first watch a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me upset to think about it. Like, why?
But you can't deny how important the game's been with like what it did for. Like, I know Battle Royale wasn't started by Fortnite. Like, before there's PUBG, there was, I think, Rust had a mod, or something else had a mod.
There was Minecraft Survival is the meme. Minecraft Hunger Games was the first one.
Yeah, and
some homemade servers.
What Fortnite's been able to do is so important, and like the fact that it's been able to not like just stay a video game, it's been able to reach out to like film and stuff, and do like the Star Wars exclusive event in it, where like I was watching someone who was playing it for the Star Wars event, and it was amazing what you like how cool it was. Like you were chilling, there was like a stage, then a Millennium Falcon came and landed on the stage, and then a hologram of J.J. Abrams walks out, and it's J.J. Abrams talking, and I think Jeff Keighley.
Yeah.
And it was them like talking, and then above there's like a little hologram of the like almost like a movie or whatever, or it was like a screen, I mean, and then they showed like a minute from episode 9. And then afterwards they gave everyone a lightsaber as like a pickaxe, and I was like, oh my word, this is just cool. Like, they didn't have to do that. Everyone was still playing the game, but I think with the stuff it's doing is so cool. And
there was also the concert with Marshmello.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's other concerts, but I haven't been keeping up too much with it.
I think it was Travis Scott. I think it's Marshmello and Travis Scott that have done concerts in it.
And of course, you're going to be able to get the Hulk fists as pickaxes with the with Avengers coming out.
Yeah, no, they've done lots of cross promotion, and like definitely it's changed the industry just because of how much money it made Epic, that Epic has become its own game storefront after being just a developer. Like, it changed what Epic is fundamentally. I don't agree with Epic constantly buying exclusives, because that just feels like scummy, but at the same time I do get it, because it is hard when Steam is literally a monopoly. So I get why they're doing what they're doing, but it's not the best. But I think once everything levels out and Epic and Steam are more on par, things might go back to normal, where Epic stops buying people.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's definitely an important game.
The next question is more of a fun one. Is do you have a favorite weapon you've ever used in a video game?
Yes.
What is it?
I'm way too much of a diehard Assassin's Creed fan to not pick the Hidden Blade. Just way too iconic. About that, actually. Way too iconic compared to anything else. Like, Geralt's swords, the Personas, they're all cool, but they aren't like, it's a sword. It's not like, and you change the sword a lot in the game.
Yeah.
And Personas, you change your Personas a lot. It's not like they're iconic to the character. So the Hidden Blade is just so iconic, although Odyssey would have you believe that it's not, because it was just a bloody spear.
Odyssey's spear was better.
Anyway, my saltiness on Odyssey aside, I just love the Hidden Blade just as a weapon. And it's just, it's just so cool. Like, it makes so much sense for the characters and what they're supposed to be. And yeah, it's just like that whole wrist flick and then there's a blade. And I'm just like, it's just cool and interesting. And it was just like a very signature weapon. Like, nowhere else really has weapons like that in the game.
Yeah. My favorite weapon in the game is the Leviathan Axe from God of War.
That is actually a good one.
Just because of the feeling of it. Just being able to throw it. Not the throwing part, but pressing triangle after you throw it, and then it comes back and hits Kratos' hand. I love that. And the stuff you could do with it wasn't just like throw it. It was like throw it, pin a guy, and then run up and punch him, like all those combinations.
Imagine what that's going to feel like on the DualSense with all those additional adaptive triggers and rumble in there that isn't in the DualShock 4.
That will be really, really cool.
God of War
2, 5.
5, 2, 5.
It can be like a 2 that can a 2 look like a 5 upside down? I don't think so. No, I can't. Never mind.
Kind of. I mean, if you stylized it right, but it would still look weird. No, that game will feel great to like play. Like if they take full of, well, then again, they're a first-party studio. Sony's going to force them to take advantage of it. Same way that Infamous Second Son had to have the spray paint mechanic.
Yeah, and you have to now because they just said that no DualShock 4s can be used for PS5 games.
Yeah,
you have to use the DualSense.
Yeah, I mean, I see why people are kind of upset because that means if you want to play any multiplayer game, you can't. But like, I kind of get it at the same time. But at the same time, I'm like, you could have just had an option that disabled all of it, just made it normal. But things happen. I won't be getting multiplayer games, and the pandemic will still be going on by the time November comes around. So it's not like I'll be seeing many people. Don't need another controller yet.
But yeah, so Leviathan Axe is my quick answer. The next question is,
I didn't actually even consider the Blades of Chaos. That's a good choice.
Blades of Chaos is actually also a good one, but it doesn't. You know, it always comes back because you got a chain on you, whereas the Leviathan Axe has triangle. You know, it just changes the game.
I guess just for people that played the original games, it's the Blades of Chaos have been there the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
but I guess that's the like. I was trying to when I thought this through, I was like, most characters don't have a single weapon that they always have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Aloy has a bow, but it's a bow with everything else. And it's not like it's a specific bow.
Yeah.
There's nothing about it that feels like, legendarily, like, awe-inspiring. It's just like a bow. So, like, I was actually struggling. Like, the only other one I could think of, and I haven't even played it, is the Dead Space bolt cutter thing. What is it?
Oh, yeah,
that weird engineer's tool he's got that he uses as a gun throughout the whole game. I can't remember what it's called, but that's also another one that's just like specific to that game. But everywhere else, they're just like, because they're so RPG-ish, it's generic versions of said thing, but just with higher stats.
Yeah, and it's like in Zelda, when the Zelda games, like the Master Sword, which is obviously the iconic sword in all the games, but like in Breath of the Wild, you can get the Master Sword and it can break, but it always comes back. But like, it wasn't necessarily the best weapon to use all the time, except for the fact that obviously it will come back. But like you said, there's so many swords, you're going to use so many different things in the game that it almost doesn't make it as iconic in that game, even though it's supposed to be Link's main weapon.
It's the weapon he always has to earn, I guess.
Yeah, every single time.
I guess that makes sense. There's actually some theories about it being a constant cycle.
Yeah.
Of how the Zelda games work in a timeline perspective. I need to look that up again. It was quite interesting.
So the next question is, what is your favorite song from a game? So this is not including video game soundtracks. This is just a single song. It could be a single song from the soundtrack, but do you have a single favorite song from a game?
Can you give me yours first? Because then I can kind of get an idea of what you meant. I do have some stuff that I thought of, but I don't know if they're actually going to be right.
Okay. Well, there's no right.
In terms of what you're asking.
Yeah, the right answer.
No, in terms of like what you were asking.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
I got
three answers. Know where I went wrong.
I got three answers. All right. The first answer is Future Days from The Last of Us Part 2. Like the main song that just keeps recurring in that game. The one that Joel sings.
If I ever were to lose you.
Yeah. I love that, and that's what got me the most in that game. Surprisingly, the first time you get to like play the guitar in the game, I thought it was like, oh, this is quite gimmicky, cool. Then you play it a second time in the game, and I was like, there was a song she sang that was like, whoa, that's really cool. And then
Take on Me.
Yeah, and then there's some stuff in the game which I don't want to get into spoilers, but basically that song is like a main part in the game that keeps coming up. But another answer is the house building song from Red Dead Redemption 2. From the, you remember when you
vaguely? It's been a while, but I can kind of remember the song.
And it's all quick time events in time with the song. It's so much fun, and he's like you're nailing in these like planks into the floor. You're like tapping X with like there's a cursor going across or a thing going across the screen, and highlighting when to tap. It happens to be in time with the music, so. Yeah, I really love that. And then my third answer, which is a cheat because it's not in a game I've played, but it's from a trailer, and it's the Bug Snacks theme song because it is so good. And if you haven't heard it, you need to go check it out. Bug Snacks.
So I didn't understand that. When you said rather what single song, I thought you meant the actual name of a single piece of music from the soundtrack.
Oh, well, I can
So I
answer
went
for
through-
you. It's the Persona 5 battle theme, probably.
You know what? That almost everything from Persona 5's battle music selection and its main theme was one of my answers. So well done.
Nice.
The other ones, in terms of things, The Last of Us's main theme, the original main theme from the first game, I found none of the music in the second game actually came close to that. The first game's theme was just, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Ezio's Family from AC2, and it's actually been remastered into almost like every AC game is kind of just this running theme song for the games. If you go listen to it on YouTube, I'm sure you'll recognize it. It's pretty, like, if you've played any of the games, you've probably heard that piece of music. Then I was also thinking of The Trail or Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher 3. Both of those are... The Trail's the one with all of the Nordic... yodeling, or whatever you want to call that almost shouting, screaming
is
thing
that the
they
one
do.
that comes on like whenever you get into a fight, or like whenever you approach
I think so.
enemies?
When it's it was in all the trailers where it was that that I can't do it because I can't hold a tune to save my life, and also I don't know the words. But yeah, those two are also great. I'll try, before we get to the end of this, think of a song that's just a normal song from a game, but it's going to take me a bit to get through that. But carry on. I'm going to try to think.
Well, the next question I had was Xbox or PlayStation, but we answered that in the beginning of the show when we both said we were going to PS5. So we're going to get into the last question now, which is, what is your favorite game from your childhood?
Oof. So... going back to the PSP and for a bit the Wii as well, those really, really, really crappy Ben 10 games.
Oh, Ben 10 Protector of Earth on the PS2.
Those terrible Ben 10 games. But what was worse is I didn't play them on PS2 stuff. I played the PSP versions. And the PSP always got just absolutely ruined in terms of its games, especially when they were cross-platform. If it wasn't made for the PSP, chances are you were getting the watered-down, completely ruined experience.
Didn't they make the Ben 10 game like a 2D side-scroller on PSP?
Yeah, they were kind of, but they had they weren't always completely 2D, but it was kind of like that weird raised perspective where it was you could go a bit depth, but a lot of it was kind of 2D-ish.
Yeah.
But it was so bad. It didn't get better when next console I got after a PSP was a Wii, because all the games that came to Wii that were third party were also the same thing, but worse. So every game I played for the majority of my childhood, except until playing Spyro, Skylanders, Spyro's Adventure, they were always the same game, but a bit worse. Unless it was a Wii Sports Resort or stuff like that. But yeah, it was all of those Ben 10 games. From the first one, I think you said was Protector of Earth, probably, up until Ultimate Alien.
Ben 10 Protector of Earth, but they played us. They only gave us 5 aliens instead of
I think they advertised 10. Diamond Head at one point, and there were these internet rumors. This was when other people had those rumors about how to unlock, different colored Mario or unlock Luigi in a Mario Brothers, and there were all these weird things you had to do. This was my version of that. Was how they said that you could get Diamond Head or Wild Pass. I'm I want them. How do you do it? And there was this stuff about having to do this stuff on this level. I'm I can't do it. And I thought I just sucked, but then, it was all internet hoaxes. So I was really upset because I'm who calls their game Ben 10 and gives you 5?
I know. They play
what
us
is
way too
wrong
hard.
with people? But yeah,
so
it was those games.
For me, it's actually a game you mentioned, and my favorite game from my childhood is Skylanders, Spyro's Adventure, which I kind of owe to it was the first non-licensed game that I probably really played. I mean, before that on PS2, never played any of the big games. Never played Final Fantasy or Metal Gears. I was the same as you.
Didn't you play the Crash Bandicoots or the Jak and Daxters?
I only played one Crash Bandicoot. I played Crash Bandicoot and the Wrath of Cortex, which isn't
that was post Naughty Dog.
Yeah, I think so. So I didn't play any of the originals, and then I didn't play Jak and Daxter. The closest I got to playing Sly Cooper was in Ratchet and Clank 3. There was a cheat where if you're in the start menu, you pressed all the triggers and the button, the R1, L1, and R2 L2 at the same time. It gave you the demo for Sly Cooper for some reason.
Huh.
So that was the most I got, like the closest I got. But Skylanders Spyro's Adventure was like, it was so different. I remember seeing it in like a magazine.
Isn't Sly Cooper also made by Insomniac?
No, isn't it Sucker Punch?
Oh yes, no, Sly is Sucker Punch. That's it.
But yeah, anyway,
Thank
so
you. I don't know why I thought that was Insomniac.
I remember Skylanders seeing a magazine for a store, and it had like the 3 pictures of like a toy, and then the toy on the portal, and then the toy in the game or the character in the game. I was like, this isn't real. And then I remember talking to you about it and being like, well, check this game. And we all started playing it, you, me, and another friend, Mark. And we collected all 32. You were the one that
introduced me to it.
Yeah, and we collected all 32 Skylanders from the first game. And to this day, I can still name every single Skylander from the first game. And I played the game over at least 3 times. I maxed out every single Skylander. It was so much fun.
I just know that I got so obsessed with that game and the release schedule of new characters that whenever I went to a shop, I visited the local gaming store or Look and Listen, which doesn't exist anymore at Greenacres, to the point that some of those people knew me by sight. And I think they hated seeing me coming.
I remember
went there so often.
I remember there was a character named Camo that was the one you had your eye on, the leaf or the laugh element dragon character. And I was in Cape Town at Look and Listen at Cavendish, and I sent you a picture like, look, I found the 3-pack that came with like Camo and 2 other characters. I can't remember who else it came with. And then you were just like, please buy it for me. I remember buying it and bringing it back from Cape Town for you. It
may have been Whamshell and the I think it was the sky turtle thing.
Oh, Warnado.
And I don't know if it was Whamshell.
It wasn't Whamshell. Whamshell was in his own pack. I can't remember who the other one might have been.
I don't remember who it may have been then.
It was such a good game. Definitely my favorite game from my childhood.
The only thing that I still find weird about that game is that it never had a jump button until like the 4th game.
Yeah. But I mean,
very odd choice to go on like bounce pads instead of a jump button.
Yeah. I think it was just for the limited controls, specifically for the Wii. Like how they made that game was you have a primary attack, secondary attack, and then like a special.
I'm trying to remember what all the buttons were.
And on the Wii, it was like you only have A, B, Z, and C. So like A, B, and Z were used for your 3 attacks, and then C was like your interaction button. So they wouldn't have really been able to fit a jump button on the Wii. And that game was made, I think, like it was made with the Wii as like its primary console. Because I think at one stage, if I'm correct, like Skylanders Giants sequel was only going to be on the Wii. Like for like a little bit, they thought it was going to be like that, but it ended up being like, oh no, we're going to rather keep it on like PS3 and Xbox 360 as well. And then obviously it fell off the Wii and carried on the other consoles because of like power and stuff like that.
Now, I do remember that the Wii was the only one that had a Bluetooth portal. Everything else had a wired portal. So I find that weird in a way. Don't know why, but that was something. That was the first game that was also, like you said, not licensed really that I played. And that then got me into getting other games.
Yeah. And that's the last question
times.
We have. If you guys enjoyed that and you want to send in your answers to those questions, remember you can reach us at the email address talknerdytome21@gmail.com. And that wraps up episode 2 of Talk Nerdy with me. And thank you so much for joining us, everybody. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you listen, whether that's on your favorite podcast service or on YouTube. And please do tell your friends to check out the podcast. It would be much appreciated. Also, remember, you can follow us on Instagram at Talk Nerdy with Me Podcast. And as I said earlier, talknerdywithme21@gmail.com. If you want to write in with a show topic, or if you want to write in an answer to any of the questions that we discussed on the show today. James, thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
I did a podcast.
Well done. I did my first podcast with someone. And I mean, we've said we wanted to do one of these for years.
Yeah, it was fun. It was interesting.
Well, actually, we lie. James, we did a podcast probably 5 years ago or
never
longer,
uploaded it,
called Unfocused with James Posthumus.
Never uploaded it, just made it.
True.
I don't even know if Yeah, those files would have been on the Mac. Those files are long gone.
Anyway,
all of them are gone.
But now we've officially made a podcast, and we will be coming back to you next week. So stay tuned and please subscribe if you enjoyed this. Thanks again, James, for joining me. And thank you, everyone who is listening to this. And I'll chat to you guys next week. Cheers.
Cool. See ya.